Welcome, my dear Sagittarians, both the seasoned travelers who have followed this channel for years and the curious newcomers just stumbling into our circle. This is Zodiac Talks Tarot, and today we are stepping into a story that has been 3 decades in the making. Now, before you roll your eyes and say 30 years sounds like the length of a bad marriage or a student loan, let me assure you, this is different. This is cosmic timing, not bureaucracy. I have spent a lifetime studying the architecture of the zodiac, the psychology of human longing, and the quiet whispers of fate, and I can tell you that what is unfolding now is nothing less than a rebirth. Life doesn't throw coincidences at us, it hands us mirrors, and today, Sagittarius, the mirror is cracking open into a doorway. For years, perhaps for 30, you have been holding your bowstring taut, steadying your breath, wondering if the target would ever appear. That pause may have felt endless, filled with wait and waiting. But the universe was never ignoring you, it was aligning the shot. Now the arrow is ready to fly, and its landing will change everything. This is not just another seasonal adjustment, not a mere tune-up in the soul's machinery, it is what I call a complete soul reboot. And while that may sound lofty, remember, even the most restless archer must pause before release. You have waited, sometimes impatiently, sometimes in silence, but the cycle is complete. Destiny is stepping out from behind the curtain, and whether you laugh at its timing or bow in reverence, the fact remains, your story is about to begin again, brighter and braver than before. When I speak about the Wheel of Fortune, I don't mean the game show or the slot machine at some noisy casino in Las Vegas. I mean the ancient turning of fate that has been at work long before human beings tried to wrap their heads around destiny by spinning a plastic wheel for cash prizes. For you, Sagittarius, this wheel is turning now, and it's not about luck in the shallow sense. It's about fate catching up to the endurance you've shown in the dark seasons of your life. You are ruled by Jupiter, the giant of expansion and optimism, the cosmic daredevil who whispers, "Why not?" every time you hesitate. And yet, even with that planetary cheerleader on your side, you've known stagnation. Maybe your career felt like it was moving through molasses. Maybe love plateaued, not in a fiery crash but in the quieter disappointment of the ordinary. Maybe you simply felt like the doors of life stayed bolted no matter how persistently you knocked. And let's be honest, Sag, sometimes you didn't just knock, you kicked, shouted, and tried to pick the lock with sheer optimism, only to walk away bruised and muttering about how unfair the universe can be. But here's the thing, that stagnation wasn't punishment. It was preparation. A bow has to be drawn back before it can launch the arrow. A wheel only moves forward when the gears are aligned. And now, right now, I want you to imagine that cosmic gear snapping into place with the sound of inevitability. At first, it will show up subtly. A chance encounter sparks a new idea. A text arrives at the exact right moment. An opportunity appears when you were just about to give up hope. That's the universe's way of saying, "I haven't forgotten you." Then, as if someone lifted a dam, it all snowballs. Momentum builds. What once felt like a dead end begins to transform into a freeway, wide open and bathed in possibility. Psychologists call this flow state, that uncanny alignment where effort meets ease. Spiritually, I'd call it destiny finally catching up with the effort you refused to abandon. Think of all the years you've been planting seeds, wisdom gathered from trial and error, resilience built through setbacks, survival skills honed in silence. Those seeds are sprouting now. Here's where my Buddhist training comes in, karma isn't Amazon Prime. You don't do a good deed today and wake up tomorrow with free enlightenment at your doorstep. Karma takes time, sometimes decades. What you're about to harvest is the fruit of patience, persistence, and faith. 30 years of waiting might feel like an eternity, but viewed through the lens of eternity itself, it's just a blink. This is that blink, Sagittarius. Now, let's pivot to the Emperor, I can already feel some of you twitching because Sagittarians are not exactly famous for loving rules. You are the free spirit of the zodiac, the one who would rather run barefoot down an unmarked trail than sit politely at the office desk. When the Emperor card shows up, your first thought might be, oh no, here comes the lecture about taxes and bedtimes. But hear me out. The Emperor doesn't come to chain you. He comes to give you the blueprint you didn't know you needed. True freedom is not chaos. That might sting to hear, but it's the truth. Freedom without structure burns itself out. Imagine trying to launch a rocket without a launch pad. Fun for 2 seconds, until gravity and flames remind you why engineers exist. The Emperor is about creating the stability that allows your wildest adventures to thrive. For some, this will mean financial security, not because money buys happiness, but because it buys time and options. For others, it's about setting boundaries in relationships so that your generous Sagittarian heart isn't drained dry. For still others, it's about stepping into leadership, claiming authority where you've spent too long deferring to others. And yes, I know, the word structure makes some of you break into hives. You're picturing spreadsheets, beige cubicles, alarm clocks screaming at dawn. That's not what I mean. Think less 9-to-5 prison and more launchpad. You need fuel, stability, and a solid base, because your next flight is going to be higher than any before. This structure isn't here to trap you, it's here to make sure you don't crash mid-air. In psychology, we'd call this the shift from adolescent freedom to mature freedom. Adolescents think freedom means no rules, no responsibilities, no one telling you what to do. Mature freedom means you've built such a stable foundation that you can choose your risks wisely and take leaps without fear of losing everything. In Buddhism, this is the middle path. Too much rigidity strangles the spirit, too much chaos scatters it into pieces. The Emperor is the reminder that balance is not the enemy of freedom but its silent partner. So, Sagittarius, as the wheel begins to spin faster, and the Emperor lays down blueprints at your feet, don't resist. You've waited long enough. You've stumbled long enough. Now the universe is aligning your arrow, steadying your bow, and handing you a stronger grip. The target is in sight, and the shot is yours to take. Laugh at the absurdity of divine timing if you must. It's very Sagittarius to make a joke at the universe's expense, but don't miss this moment. The wheel has turned, the foundation is ready, and your story is shifting from the waiting room into the great hall of destiny. When we talk about the 10 of Pentacles, we are no longer talking about pocket change, quick wins, or the kind of wealth that evaporates the moment you swipe your card one too many times at the bookstore. This card represents something much deeper, something that resonates beyond bank accounts and credit scores. For you, Sagittarius, wealth has rarely been about money in the first place. You've always measured abundance in laughter around the fire, in passport stamps crammed into the corners of your pages, in the stories that spill out when you're 2 glasses of wine into a conversation with friends. And yet, here comes the 10 of Pentacles saying, guess what? You don't have to choose between money and meaning. You get both. This is not a promise of shallow rewards. It's not about winning the lottery and blowing it all on neon jet skis, though let's be honest, that sounds like something a Sagittarius might actually do. No, this is legacy wealth, the kind of abundance that builds roots while still allowing branches to stretch skyward. It could look like stability in your career, finally feeling that the work you do isn't just paying bills but feeding your spirit. It might arrive as an inheritance, or perhaps as a project you poured your soul into that suddenly blooms into a flourishing source of income. For others, it will be the gift of financial freedom, the ability to travel, relocate, or launch that wild, passion-driven business idea you've kept scribbled in notebooks for years. Now, here's the twist: don't expect this wealth to arrive from the channels you've been watching with hawk eyes. Sagittarians often stumble into abundance in the most unexpected ways. When everyone else is playing by the rules, you're the one zigzagging through the maze, finding a shortcut nobody thought existed. People may have told you, "That'll never work," and you shrugged, laughed, and did it anyway. That stubborn optimism, that refusal to play small, that is exactly what opens the gates. Legacy doesn't reward conformity, it rewards authenticity. And speaking of authenticity, let's tie this to the astrological stage of the moment. In the year of triumph 2025, Jupiter, your ruling planet, is aligning in a way that heavily favors boldness paired with integrity. Not the reckless kind of boldness where you book a one-way ticket to Peru without checking your passport expiration date, but the boldness of standing fully in who you are and refusing to dilute it for anyone. The chosen ones among you, the Sagittarians who will not settle for mediocrity, who won't trade freedom for false security, are about to be rewarded in ways that feel almost miraculous. This isn't magic for the sake of magic. It's the harvest of years of faith, persistence, and refusal to quit even when life was stingy with its blessings. But of course, wealth is never the whole story, especially for you. That brings us to the Lovers, and oh, Sagittarius, here's where things get interesting. This card isn't just about romance in the swoon-worthy, Hollywood sense. It's about alignment, about two souls walking the same path without tripping over each other's shoelaces. For the single Sagittarian, this could mean a destined encounter that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. You won't find it by scrolling endlessly through dating apps or searching desperately for signs. It will happen when you're most yourself, laughing too loud at your own jokes, asking philosophical questions at the dinner table, or maybe wandering through that quirky little bookstore you've passed 100 times but finally decided to enter. For those of you already paired, the Lovers speaks to renewal. Falling in love again, not with the fantasy but with the weathered, wiser version of your partner. The kind of love where you look across the table and think, we've been through storms, and yet here we are, still choosing each other. That's a deeper romance than any meet-cute script could capture. And now for the humor, because no Sagittarius lecture is complete without a wink at your reputation. Sag, you're infamous for running when things get too serious. You love freedom like oxygen, and the moment you feel cornered, you start looking for the nearest exit. But here's the thing, the truest form of freedom isn't running alone, it's finding someone who can run beside you, matching your pace, not chasing from behind. That's the love you deserve. Not a cage, not a leash, but a partnership that lets both of you sprint toward the horizon without losing yourselves in the process. So whether it's legacy, wealth, or love's renewal, these cards remind you of something essential. You don't have to compromise between adventure and stability, between independence and partnership. In this cycle, you are being offered both. The Ten of Pentacles and the Lovers are not contradictions, they are companions, two sides of a life well lived. It is the universe saying, you can have roots without losing wings, and you can share your path without sacrificing your freedom. And if anyone can balance both, Sagittarius, it's you. When we arrive at the world, we are not merely closing a chapter, we are completing an entire volume of your life's story. This card is the stamp of completion, the seal of wholeness, the cosmic nod that says, yes, the 30-year wait has not been in vain. And let's be clear, Sagittarius, you are not the most patient of signs. If life were a buffet, you'd be the first to complain when the line moves too slowly. So the idea that you've endured decades of delays, detours, and lessons, that in itself is remarkable. But the world reassures you that every stumble, every so-called failure, every time you muttered, well, that was a mistake, was in fact a necessary tile in the mosaic. You were not fumbling in the dark, you were assembling a design too large to see up close. Now, at this moment of completion, you finally step back and realize the pattern was there all along. Think about it. How many times did you believe you took the wrong path, only to realize later it was a redirection. That job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't last, the city you left behind, they all carved out a place for who you were meant to become. The World card insists, nothing is wasted. Everything belongs. This is the kind of wisdom you don't learn from motivational posters or Instagram quotes. This is lived truth. Buddhist philosophy calls this samsara, the great turning of the wheel of life. One cycle ends, another begins, and if you've paid attention, you carry greater wisdom into the next round. In psychology, we might call it integration, when past, present, and future finally sit at the same table, stop bickering, and agree to share dessert. That sense of wholeness, Sagittarius, is not about perfection. It's about finally feeling like every scattered piece of you has found its rightful place. But let's be honest, life doesn't hand you this kind of clarity without also showing you the shadows. That's where the moon reversed comes in. This card is like a fog lifting after a long, nerve-wracking drive. Suddenly, the road you couldn't see becomes clear. The illusions, the self-doubts, the vague anxieties, they start dissolving. And you might laugh at yourself when you realize how much time you wasted worrying about monsters that were really just shadows of your own fear. I sometimes say that the reversed moon is like waking up in the middle of the night, convinced the coat on the chair is a ghost, only to realize at dawn it was just your laundry. And standing firmly beside this clarity is justice. Now, Sag, if you've ever felt your honesty wasn't valued or your integrity went unrewarded, this is the universe's way of recalibrating the scales. Fairness may not always be immediate, but it is inevitable. You've sown honesty, courage, and persistence into the soil of your life. Now, those seeds are bearing fruit. As both a student of astrology and psychology, I can tell you this: clarity is one of the greatest gifts the universe can grant. When you are clear, you stop outsourcing your wisdom to everyone else. You no longer waste energy second-guessing. You act. You trust. And let's face it, Sagittarius, trusting yourself is your birthright. You came into this world with an inner compass, you just needed to learn how to stop letting other people recalibrate it. Now we move to the grand crescendo, the Sun, the Magician, and the Tower. This is not subtle energy, this is life in surround sound. The Sun floods your life with vitality. Your optimism skyrockets, your health improves, your charisma shines so brightly that even the barista at the coffee shop might throw in a free muffin just to bask in your glow. The next 3 months are critical. They are the opening notes of a symphony, and if you play them with intention, the entire composition of your life will sing in harmony. But light alone isn't enough. Enter the Magician. This card doesn't hand you wishful fantasies. It hands you tools. Manifestation is not about sitting cross-legged in your living room chanting money, money, money until it rains $100 bills. It's about aligned action, speaking your desires, writing them down, living as if they are already forming. And here's the catch: words are powerful right now. What you speak of repeatedly is what you summon. So if you keep saying, "I'm stuck, I'm unlucky, nothing ever works," the universe shrugs and says, "Alright, if that's what you want." Speak wisely, Sagittarius. You are conjuring your own reality. And then brace yourself, there's the Tower. Cue the dramatic music. This card scares people because it looks like destruction, but I prefer to think of it as the cosmic demolition crew. Anything built on false foundations must come down, not to punish you, but to free you. Jobs, homes, beliefs, even relationships, if they crumble now, it's because you've outgrown them. And honestly, Sag, you are famous for outgrowing things quickly. That sweater you loved last year? It's already buried in the back of the closet. The Tower is like that, but on a soul level. So don't fear the collapse. Welcome it. Because what is falling apart is what no longer serves your expansion. And you, of all signs, know that expansion is the heartbeat of life. The Tower clears the space so that what is real, lasting, and aligned can take root. Think of it as a cosmic home renovation, dusty, noisy, and inconvenient, but once the work is done, you'll be living in a palace that feels like it was always meant for you. Together, these cards, the World, the Moon reversed, Justice, the Sun, the Magician, and the Tower, tell a story not of chaos but of alignment. Completion, clarity, vitality, manifestation, and renewal through necessary endings. This is not the small print at the bottom of your horoscope. This is the headline. Sagittarius, the wait is over, the fog is lifting, and the stage is lit. Now is the moment to step into the story you were born to live. When all the external fireworks of destiny seem to be exploding around you, Sagittarius, the cards remind us that the most profound journey is still the one within. The Hermit steps forward, not as a wet blanket over your excitement, but as a wise elder whispering, "Slow down, my friend. Before you chase the next horizon, take a lantern and explore the terrain of your own soul." Now, I know what you're thinking. Solitude doesn't sound nearly as fun as a plane ticket to Bali or a midnight road trip with snacks and questionable playlists. But here's the paradox: sometimes the boldest adventure isn't a passport stamp, it's sitting quietly with yourself, confronting the thoughts you've outrun for years. The Hermit is not punishment for your wanderlust, it's preparation for deeper clarity. And once that inner light steadies, life outside begins to mirror the calm inside. That's when love shows up, not as a dramatic rescue scene from a rom-com, but as the natural arrival of connection. Enter the Knight of Cups and the Two of Cups. Together they promise offers of romance that are genuine, not just Instagram highlights. This isn't about someone swooping in to complete you. You're not a half-empty soda can waiting for someone else to pour sugar into it. You're whole already. What's coming is the kind of love where two complete people decide to walk side by side. It might feel fated, it might arrive unexpectedly at a class you almost skipped, on a trip you debated taking, or maybe in the laughter that erupts when you least expect it. And the humor here is this: Sagittarius, you're notorious for running when things get too serious, but the truest freedom may be finding someone who runs at your pace, not chasing behind you with a leash. As we move forward, the cards shift to the great trio, the Star, Strength, and Judgment paired with the World. These are not lightweights. These are cosmic heavy hitters, here to remind you that what's coming isn't a minor shift, it's rebirth at a mythic scale. The Star pours calm and renewal into your spirit. It reminds you that even after your wildest storms, the night sky still hangs with light. It restores your faith not in miracles happening out there, but in the quiet assurance that you are where you're meant to be. Then comes Strength. Now, Sag, don't confuse strength with domination or loudness. This isn't about puffing your chest like a gladiator. True strength, as the card teaches, is resilience, compassion, patience. Think of it less like wrestling a lion and more like taming it with calm presence. Psychology would call this emotional regulation. Buddhism would call it equanimity. Either way, it's the art of responding, not reacting. And let's be real, Sagittarius, you've had your moments of reacting first and thinking later. Strength invites you to reverse that order. Finally, we arrive at Judgment and the World together, a sacred pairing that shouts transformation louder than any motivational speaker ever could. Judgment is the wake-up call, the moment you realize the 30 years of waiting weren't wasted. They were the cocoon. They were the refining fire. And with the World alongside it, we see completion, rebirth, and the phoenix moment, ashes transformed into wings. This is not just about ending one cycle and starting another, it's about stepping into a version of yourself that finally makes sense of all the detours and delays. Sagittarius, this is your year of triumph 2025. And while not everyone will understand what that means, the chosen ones among you will. You've been tested, stretched, and prepared. You've endured setbacks, laughed at absurdity, and refused to settle for mediocrity. Now the universe is handing you the green light and saying, go. The road is open. So here is my advice, offered after decades of watching the dance between stars and souls. First, do not hesitate. Life is a river. If you linger too long on the shore, the current carries blessings downstream without you. Act with courage. Second, trust your intuition. Logic has its place, but your inner compass is blazing right now. Follow it. Third, laugh along the way. Your Sagittarius humor is your secret weapon. Remember that life's absurdities are often the universe's way of keeping you from taking yourself too seriously. And finally, declare your readiness. Say it out loud, write it in a journal, whisper it to the stars, I am Sagittarius. I welcome all the universe's miraculous gifts with gratitude. Because, Sagittarius, you have always been more than a seeker. You are a philosopher, a traveler, a rebel with a spiritual cause. But now, you are also a rebuilder, a manifester, and whether you realize it or not, one of the chosen ones leading us into a brighter future. This is not just your rebirth. It is your invitation to shine, to enjoy, to live fully without apology. And so, as we close this journey, I'll leave you with encouragement. Enjoy your life. Don't wait for the perfect moment to arrive. Eat the food, take the trip, start the project, say yes to love, laugh at the ridiculousness of it all. Life is not meant to be endured, it's meant to be savored. And if this message has resonated with you, show the universe you're ready. Like, share, and subscribe to Zodiac Talks Tarot. Join me in this growing community of seekers, because the greatest adventures are not only lived, they're shared.